Thank you so much for that. Welcome everyone. My name is Ray Davison. I'm here this morning on behalf of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Lands Council. The Lands Council and its members, being the custodians to the clan groups of the Eora Nation, give me permission today to come along and welcome you to country. I love to say to people each time I have the opportunity to give welcome to country that I don't have a set speech or a set talk. When I get up and do what I call having a yarn, and as I'll do this morning. Look, it's quite wonderful for me as an individual to have the privilege of representing my people and welcoming people to my land. Every now and then we have one of those days, and today is one of those days for me. I might go through a month period. I'm retired now. I worked in health for 30 plus years, and I'm retired now, so I take it quite easy. And I come out and do welcome to countries when the Lands Council asks me to. And it's quite funny because sometimes I might have one welcome a month, or one a week, or two a week, and then sometimes you get three in one day, like today. And I just had one over at Circular Quay, and I've driven this poor young lady mad over the last 24 hours in trying to get the times right. But I had to welcome over there at 8 o'clock, and I had to rush across from Circular Quay across to here, and I went to the wrong place. I went down the road, down to Darling Wharf, down the road instead of up here at Daltone House. And it's really funny because blackfellas aren't supposed to get lost, but I came here, and I know all this area like the back of my hand, because as a young man back in the 60s and 70s, I was a truckie and I worked all these areas. And I love to tell people too, each time I have the opportunity to give welcome to country, how special and unique it is for me to have that opportunity, especially from a point of view of being a local person born in the area. So when I give welcome to country, I like to sort of have a little bit of a yarn. I won't speak too long, just a short yarn to let you know what it means to give welcome to country and what it means to... A lot of people think it's tokenism, and we know that it's not. It's been around for thousands of years, and welcome to country has its origins right here on the east coast of Australia. And we've always had welcome to country, or perform welcome to country, when we have big celebrations, big corroborees and such. And it's no different today. And we always perform, we celebrate by song and dance. And it's no different today as I'm doing it orally. It's still the same importance. And as I love to remind people as well, it doesn't matter that if you've been here 1,000 years, 100 years, or 1 year, it doesn't matter. If you're born on country, the country knows you, and you're part of the country. And for me, once again, it's quite unique for me to come down here, because being born at La Perouse, just local here, really idyllic place to actually grow up within the Sydney area through the 50s and 60s, and it's been really wonderful. My clan land runs from Circular Quay up to Redfern, the Gadigal clan land. So I get to say to people, which is once again really unique, that my people, the Gadigal people, have had the longest continuous unbroken association with the Europeans since the settlement of Australia. It's quite wonderful actually, and I get to say that each time I come out and do welcome to country. Now, when I was saying this morning that today, of all days, I've had 3 welcomes in one day, because you're going to have to put up with me again this evening. I'm coming back this evening to welcome you to country again. And once again, it's really unique. So not just from an Aboriginal custodian point of view, but from a modern day Australian urban Australian living within this area. And as I said a moment ago, growing up in this area here, and all these areas, when I was a young man, I was a truckie, driving trucks and semi-trailers. I used to come in the wharves here, and I'm talking about the 60s and early 70s, when the ships were still being unloaded by hand and stuff like that. So my connection with this area is not just in a unique way of my ancestry, but being a modern-day Australian living within Australia and having an association. So it's really wonderful for me that I'm on traditional land all the time, so it's not just from a traditional point of view, it's from an urban Australian point of view. So being here on country is really special. So I get that privilege, as I said, each time to welcome people to my land, and knowing it like the back of my hand in all these different areas, although you wouldn't think that this morning I'd get lost coming here. But it's wonderful to actually be here and give welcome to country once again. So I don't care if I do it once a year, 100 times a year. Each and every time I do it, it's really unique and special to me. And I love to remind people as well that we have one mother, and that's Mother Earth, and Mother Earth knows each and every one of us, and she loves us all equally. It doesn't matter who we are, where we come from. we're all the same, and she loves us all equally. So when we give Welcome to Country, I have the opportunity to give Welcome to Country, pay respects to elders and descendants, both past and present. When I do that, we know within our culture that we believe those people are around us. So with me being on country here, where my people have been for thousands of years, that means there's thousands of my ancestors around me as I give Welcome to Country. In saying that, I'd like to say to each and every one of you here today, I'd like to pay respects to your elders past and present as well, because as we know, we look in a photo album or whatever it may be, and they're just names or faces or numbers, but we know that they were real people that lived real lives and stuff like that, and if they didn't, we wouldn't be here today. So I'd like to pay respects to elders past and present of each and every person here sitting today, which is, for me, it's really wonderful that I have the opportunity to say that and do that. So it's once again, my people, the Gadigal people, are one of 29 clans that make up the Eora Nation, and I say it this time, each time I say Welcome to Country. My clan land boundaries are bordered by the three rivers of Sydney, and I love to say it in this fashion because we believe those three rivers are sacred to us, and they've been bringing life and nutrients to this area for thousands of years, and they continue to do it today. The wonderfully handsome, I always say it this way, the wonderfully handsome Hawkesbury River to the north with its wonderful coves and inlets, the beautiful Nepean River out to the west with its wonderful sandy shores and beautiful agricultural land. There's been our fruit basket here for thousands of years. And down to the south, the Georges River with its wonderful mangroves and bird life, and naturally beyond me, the waters, ocean and waters beyond. Within those boundaries there are 29 clans of the Eora Nation. And once again, I'm here this morning on behalf of the traditional people to welcome you to traditional land and say to each and every one of you, I hope you have a wonderful day and I hope you have a productive day. And just in closing quickly, I'll say, may the spirits of and I don't say this lightly, as I said a moment ago, because I believe that there are thousands of my ancestors around me at any given time. So what I'm about to say, I don't say lightly, I always say with great respect and great reverence. May the spirits of my ancestors walk beside you and protect you whilst you're on Gadigal land, Eora country, as I know they walk beside and protect me. Thank you all very, very much for your attention. I hope you have a brilliant day today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uncle Ray, and it's a very important part of our morning. Next, we're going to hear from the CEO of the Infrastructure Sustainability Council, so I'd like to welcome Antony Sprigg.
Thank you, Uncle Ray. That was a perfect start to a wonderful day. And I think it also reinforces why we're here, which is around sustainability and the risk of getting too serious. It is around intergenerational equity. It is around intergenerational equity in the context of biodiversity, in the context of society, in the context of culture, in the context of so many things. And that's why it's so important not to lose those connections. And I made a comment yesterday at the fantastic ISCA's Day, the commencement of that, where we do have some New Zealand stakeholders here representing Mana Whenua, and on the CRL project, which you'll hear about a little bit later, the real emphasis on maintaining language, which I thought really resonated, and I think that's exactly the same in Australia. I think Indigenous language is a way of maintaining culture and pulling it through, and it's something that we look forward to building on in partnership with our stakeholders over time. So thank you again, Uncle Ray. I do have a few, they're not boring, they're just terribly important, so aspects to run through, so just bear with me. First of all, this is the third event in this week's Festival of Infrastructure Sustainability. I will highlight that we hadn't intended for it to be a festival initially. We do like to hold at a critical point each year our one-day conference and, of course, our dinner and awards night as a celebration, or facilitate a celebration with industry. However, particularly through our rating scheme team and the feedback and the wonderful stakeholders we work with through working groups and so on. So many other opportunities were highlighted that we started to say, well, we can't say no. This is all really good stuff, really good suggestions. And so we had the North Connects site tour yesterday. We have the IS Assessors Day session after that with multiple presentations and topics and feedback, etc. Today, we've got version 2 workshops tomorrow, Verify breakfast tomorrow morning, that we just thought this is just perfect. So I just wanted to thank all of you who provide that feedback to the team, because we just think it's a fantastic opportunity, and we thought, well, why don't we use the fact that you're all going to be in town to include all of them, and hence the concept that evolved, which was a festival. So thank you. Sorry. Also, importantly, like to thank Arcadis and WSP Parsons Brinckerhoff. They are our sponsors for this morning. We obviously couldn't do this without our sponsors. Something that Hayley, I'm sure you all know Hayley, our marketing manager, likes to highlight, that we do try to generate a surplus out of these events, because they really do fund many of our events during the year, because we do try to do everything else without charging a fee. It's just part of what we try to achieve. And I don't know whether you've noticed, but in the last 6 to 9 months, we've literally got something on somewhere in Australia or New Zealand every month. And it's just growing organically and naturally in some form or other, which is also fantastic. So that support from these two sponsors is hugely appreciated. Otherwise, these things just don't come together the way they have. In addition, something that we've been very firm, well, David Singleton, our chair, is sitting up front. David and I have been very strong about right from the start with ISCA, and that is to ensure we have good industry partnerships. We have no competition. We don't intend to. The idea is that we're addressing a common issue, which is sustainability, and therefore we must work in partnership and we must practice what we preach. And therefore we have very good relationships with multiple other NGOs and equivalent organisations in other industries. So some of them who have been supporting partners in promoting and communicating and assisting with this event. AILA, Australian Institute for Landscape Architects, so we signed an MOU with them earlier this year. And partly because we're very keen to include urban and landscape, or evolve and expand urban and landscape design in the context of version 2. We know that green infrastructure is important, and I won't go on some sort of diatribe around this, but green infrastructure is important, but it's also an asset management issue and a business case, an externality issue. So it's not a simple thing that you can resolve. But if we start to work in partnership together at a strategic level, we can start to resolve these things practically. So we're mutual champions of each other. ASBEC, the Australian Built Environment Council, I think three years ago, we were still on the periphery as these people that represent infrastructure, whatever that is, and now we're very much central. And in fact, we're now central to hosting Chatham House roundtables around the country, inviting and people actually attending from very high levels, from government, from Treasury to Infrastructure Australia to various other procurement funding authorities, decision-making authorities, to challenge around areas of material externalities and best practice in business cases and wide economic benefits and benefit realisation and so on. So we're lifting the game, even in the context of ASBEC, and they are a very, very strong supporter of ours, and we look forward to seeing Suzanne here later this evening. Consult Australia have been long-time friends of ours for years. Green Building Council, the same, but with the Green Building Council, I'm very proud to be able to say that this year we're stepping up our collaboration. We've got a couple of very important projects and working together around the alignment of certain elements of the rating tools. So where there are those commonalities in a Venn diagram context, if you're a major metro and you have stations and various other aspects, just trying to make things easier for industry, resilience guidance, things like that. So we're trying to focus it in the context of our common stakeholders where they intersect. Infrastructure Partnerships Australia, always been supportive, and so much so that a couple of years ago, Brendan said, well, you guys know what you're doing. we're not sustainability experts, so dissolved their sustainability working group and said, go to ISCA. If that's what you want to talk about, that's where you can work together on. Roads Australia, always, again, Ian Webb has been a huge champion of ours. We're very supportive of their mindset of not actually focusing on roads, but focusing on transport solutions for Australia, and continue to work together closely. And then more recently, the Supply Chain Sustainability School, although they've been around for a couple of years, I think under the leadership of Robin Mellon and how that initiative is progressing, we've always wanted to support it. We've known that we're not able to really influence tier 3 and beyond. In other words, the subbies and sub-subbies. So, you know, the supply chains that the Lend-Leases and CPBs and various others have worked through and engage. But that's why we thought the supply chain school was so terribly important. So we continue to support them, and it's a quid pro quo. They strongly support us. So them along with others, although Asset Management Council isn't on the list, we've been working really closely with them with the asset management in the context of our operations and maintenance tool, which will be launched very soon this year. So just another example of how we work with other NGOs across Australia. So thank you to all of them. Today, we have quite a few international speakers, and most of them have just come together quite naturally, quite wonderfully. It's really exciting. They are a reflection, I think, of just our open and organic nature of working with industry, cross-border, and actually really respecting what others are achieving elsewhere. Because in Australia, we want to learn, we want to improve, and you can only do that through these sorts of events, through establishing relationships. So I want to acknowledge and thank those particular speakers for coming out here. I won't say all the way out here. I've just come from Europe, and I find how interesting, and they go, oh, Australia, that's a long way away. And you go to New Zealand and Australia, and you know, any opportunity, we'll go to Europe or America, and happy to travel a few kilometres and spend a few hours on a plane. There seems to be a slightly different mindset. But we really do appreciate it. So we have Bianca and Meg and Anne and Emka all speaking throughout the day on various topics. So thank you. We've also got the CRL presentation with Liz Root and Berenice working in the context of the mana whenua. So I think that's a very important presentation, and one that I hope we all can leverage from. We are, and I think the product of part of today is also a product of our working groups and the amount of energy and intelligence that's gone into them. So we have the contractors launching a new industry resource, and the WA working group represented by Amy Elkington. So it's not just simply a talk fest. These are people that have been leading groups very effectively and producing material and support for industry. Again, it's a community of practice. That's what we are. We're a hub for that. We can't generate it all ourselves. We don't have the intellectual capacity. We also don't have the resources. And when we all come together and do it together, then we're likely to help facilitate the change that's required. And finally, we've got IS version 2 development panel facilitated with Leora Black and a workshop tomorrow. So we keep on talking about version 2. There'll be more information around that. You probably have been receiving a plethora of surveys and emails and various other things throughout the year in relation to version 2 and in relation to other development work. I'm sure the message is clear that there is a lot going on. This year we saw the launch of version 1.2. We saw the launch of the version of the scheme that's applicable for projects under 20 million. We've seen within 1.2 a decision process that will help you use the IS scheme to drive better decisions. So it's more of a business tool in that context, which is fantastic, and we've had very positive feedback on. And we've just analysed the results from the survey that many of you completed, that Nicole, who's leading version 2 development work, helped facilitate. And that feedback is absolutely fantastic, and we hugely appreciate it. Presented it to the board last Thursday. So we really leverage and utilise that sort of information and feedback and value it. And all of that has been fed into what we do now, but also into version 2 of the tool. So we wanted to make sure that today and tomorrow continue to be opportunities for you to contribute and contribute into something that will then be deployed over time. So without further ado, I'm done. Thank you.